All right. Andrew Yuliani.
Yes, sir. Back for the second time.
Welcome back for the second time with actual audio this time.
Yeah.
Last episode, we did what, 2 hours?
We did about like an hour and 45 minutes, just no audio saved.
An hour 45, no audio saved. Oh shit, hold on. I'm actually going to go turn off that AC.
Yeah, it might be a little bit loud for it. Is there a remote or you got to jump up there? Because that's pretty high. All right, so this is part 2 for us, part 1 for
This is
for
episode
our viewers.
1.2.
Okay, 1.2.
1.2. We had a really great discussion last time where we talked a lot about not just bodybuilding, growth within the fitness industry, but also sort of just masculinity and how things have kind of evolved for men over time. And one thing that I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit, seeing kind of your progress, your recovery as you've kind of come back from surgery.
Okay.
You haven't taken that victim mentality that so many people just cling on to. That's an epidemic in America, in my opinion.
Yeah, so should I kind of explain things a little
absolutely.
bit? All right, so about a month ago, I had like a brain tumor removed, which was a bit of a shock because nobody knew it was there, first of all. And second, it was just, I don't know, things like that are just scary. Like especially when somebody's in like the bodybuilding fitness community, you kind of take pride in knowing that your body's capabilities. You take pride in being able to like control yourself, have that discipline, get in there every day, know you're making progress. And then to one day out of the next, or just a split second to the other, just lose control of part of yourself, and kind of the idea of what you had about yourself kind of just goes out the window. Like you're no longer like this self-sufficient, like you no longer have that control about your body. It's a scary thing. A lot of people get into fitness because it's one of the few aspects of their lives that they can control, or at least think they control, is like themselves. And then something like this in your brain comes along and it's just completely rewires that, completely throws that sense of security in yourself that you have out the window. It just changes like your perspective on life.
No, that's a great point.
So that was about a month ago now, 3.5 weeks ago, a month ago, that I had that removed. So if you're wondering why I'm wearing a hat after a haircut, it's not because my barber did me dirty. It's because half my head's still shaved.
Dope scar though.
Good scar. It'll be a cool scar eventually. Yeah, for sure. It'll be a cool story to tell. I mean, for a while, like I couldn't speak after. I couldn't see for a while, but 3.5 weeks after, a month after, I'm pretty much made a full recovery, which is nice. Back in the gym, back trying to get to it.
Bro went and did two sets, 2 sets of curls. Came back, shirt was swollen.
Yeah, so so it's the muscle memory is definitely coming back a little bit. That's nice. It just kind of sucks to see yourself. Like I dropped 20 pounds. I think it was 22 pounds in 11 days that I was in the hospital total. So you kind of get out. I was bloated from the medications. Medications are terrible. I try not to take them if I don't have to. I work in pharmaceuticals and I don't trust pharmaceuticals, so I should say something.
That's interesting.
It just kind of sucks seeing yourself like degrade so quickly after working so hard for such a long time.
Right.
But it's also pretty rewarding just getting to get back in there and see the progress all come back. Having those similar, like I wasn't sore for 2 years lifting. Only for the first like year or so lifting, because I just started about 3 years ago now, the other day. So I wasn't sore for 2 years of that. Being sore, coming back and waking up in the morning and not being able to lift my legs. It's a fun thing. You know, you kind of get that nostalgia of beginning lifting with all your boys and stuff like that. It just kind of brings back memories. But it's nice just seeing everything come back slowly, or a lot quicker than before, but just kind of getting back to where I was.
And that's awesome. And I kind of want to touch on something that you brought up earlier, which is a great point in terms of feeling like we have complete autonomy over our health, over our longevity of our lives, because we feel like as we train, that can sort of combat genetics. And then something like this happens and it's like, no, genetics is still a thing.
Yeah, you're still human. You're still
human. And it's fucking scary, I bet. Because for me, hypertension is something that runs really high in my family. So I'm like, all right, if I'm not active, I'm going to suffer from that, right? Yeah. So you can't control what happens genetically, but we have this, I guess the gym creates this false sense of security where if we control how healthy we are, we can at least combat a lot of that. And that'll, in a way, make us feel a lot better, even though we know, like, genetically, there are certain things you just can't
like I got diabetes in my family. It's one of the reasons I started working out, at least moderately. Maybe not into the whole bodybuilding stuff, but at least moderately I got in there just because I didn't want to go that same route. We got a lot of obesity, a lot of diabetes. You know, Latinos love fast food. We love everything fried in the morning. So it's just bound to happen. And I still love to eat that way. So it's kind of like I get to eat a little better.
Yeah.
Have a little bit more fun if I work out. But yeah, and ironically, the first symptom that I had was a seizure in the gym. Where like the place that I would expect myself to be in the most control and the most like being the most me, and then just out of nowhere just have that taken like in a split second. Like that stuff's scary, man.
Yeah.
But at least about the victim mentality that you kind of open up this conversation with, it's just I don't really see a point. Like I know a lot of people, you can blame the world, you can blame like anything, but something like this, it just kind of randomly happens. It's whatever you want to call it, like luck, fate, or bad luck, I guess. Fate, or really, yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, I was in a place where I was content with where I was in life. You know, I had a stable job. I was happy with how I was looking, things like that. And the only thing I could think about in the hospital was just getting right back to that place. Like against surgeons' wishes, I was working out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I remember those first workouts with you. You were a little worried. You're like, should you really be?
I was keeping an eye out.
You're keeping an eye out. You know, I saw them side eyes. You're like, should you
135. Really? I'm like, I'm going to stay there just in case.
Benching, that first bench day was a little scary. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, should I really be doing this? But it's just sitting there, you're alone in a room for a long time. Like, especially when you're on the ICU, you don't really have anything else. You have a TV that plays the same 6 channels. You got like CNN, Fox News, some random Spanish channel, and then like reruns of MTV from 10 years ago. I didn't want to watch Impractical Jokers for 10 hours a day.
I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, it's still horrible. It's still just as bad.
Good to know.
Yeah. Sorry if I ruin any Impractical Joker sponsorships. But I mean, you just kind of sit there and you wonder where you want to go in life. Because, you know, now your life is definitely finite. It's no longer this long thing that's never going to happen to you, that you're going to die. It's not far off in the future. Like, this could happen tomorrow. Right. Almost just happened now. What am I going to use my time for? Do I want to sit there and kind of worry about things in the past, like how I had at some point? Like, I was somebody who was very, very caught up in things that had happened before, and it prevented me from moving forward and maybe didn't make me do the best decisions about present situations. But I mean, since that, just getting out of the hospital, it's like, yeah, things happened, things sucked. What am I going to do moving forward? Like, how can I change things that weren't working? How can I get closer to where I want to be? Because I don't know what time I have left. Right. Like that's the mindset that I walked away from the whole tumor situation. And, you know, maybe I'm a little reckless with it, being in the gym this early, pushing this hard and kind of making some of the decisions I am, but that's what makes me happy currently. And it is pushing me closer to the person that I want to be. And I'm willing to maybe sacrifice a little bit of time down the road to get to there.
Who is that person though? Do you have a good grasp of that?
I mean, when I think about the person that I want to be, I kind of have to think about the person who I was and what I didn't like about who I was. And I was, for a long time, I was just caught up in the past a lot. You know, like I had a friend of mine who was in a similar situation. Unfortunately, he passed away back in 2020. And all I was thinking about was how scared he must have been in that position. Like being rolled around like the basements of the hospital is not a fun thing to do. Having to be woken up every hour on the hour. And he went through this for years, I want to say. He fought for like 2 years.
Was it cancer?
Yeah, he ended up having cancer and passing away from it.
Okay.
But I mean, thankfully mine didn't end up being cancerous. It was a shitty situation, but I was out of it in 2 weeks.
Right.
He fought for 2 years and I thought I had it bad. So in that same step, I'm like, things are bad, but they could always be a lot worse. And just realizing that things could always be a lot worse really helped me kind of push aside a lot that I was holding on to that I really shouldn't have still been holding on to. And when I think about the person who I want to be, it's more just, I want to be more present. Like that's something I've always struggled with, being really present in the moment and not being so anxious about what tomorrow's going to bring and not letting what happened yesterday affect like me now. And because that's just all going to push you forward. And if if it's not pushing you forward in the right way, then it's not really gonna work out too well. So let's see, who do I want to be? I want to be somebody who people can rely on a lot. I think it's a big aspect, especially if you're a man, to be kind of somebody people can turn to in tough situations. And I mean, if I made it through this situation with, thankfully, the support of my family, friends, you were there, had a lot of the guys that we know out there visiting me and just making sure I was okay, which I really appreciate you guys for that. It's just, I want to be that person that you can make a phone call and something's done. Something, you got somebody to help you out, doesn't matter what it is. I want to be somebody who people can respect and look up to, and like, I don't want an empty funeral is pretty much what I came to it. Like, I was thinking, it's like, if I died tonight, how many people would be there? How many people would actually like really care? And it all came down to, I don't want an empty funeral. I want people who love me, who respected me. I want to be somebody who made some kind of impact in the world, regardless of what it is. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a top tier surgeon saving people's lives. It doesn't matter if you're, I don't know, say, it just doesn't matter what you're doing. You want to be out there affecting people's lives in a positive way, and that's really what I want to do from now moving forward. But also pursuing my own hobbies and seeing like what it is that I like, because I ignored a lot of what I like to make other people happy for a long time. And it's just now that I'm discovering, like, I picked up the guitar, I picked up drawing again. I hadn't done that in years. Fitness is more a priority right now than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just these little things that people tend to kind of push aside because life gets in the way, or because other people get in the way. It's just, I really want to discover who I am, even if I don't exactly know what it is, but I kind of know a template of what I want to become.
It's kind of blurry.
It's blurry, but I mean, the more you push, the more you kind of chip away at it, it gets clearer. Like at 23, it's not going to be a perfect, crisp image.
No, of course not.
It'll be clear at 25. It'll be clear at 30. Hopefully, I know where I want to be by like 35.
Yeah.
But it's still a long path to go, but it's just not as long a path as people think it is. Like, there is an end to it. And you really got to utilize that time right.
You've got the foundation built out. Now you're just trying to really define everything.
I got the if you're a sculptor, you got a large block of marble in front of you, and you just got to chip away. You're not going to see something at first. You're not going to see something after a couple hours. But if you got an idea of what you want to see and you just keep pushing, then you'll get there eventually.
And where does that path take you now, especially when it comes to fitness content?
So I was on Instagram a lot at the beginning of this month because, I thought, why not? A lot of people are doing it. Well, you were doing it pretty well. I remember, what was it? One conversation, it was like, I think I'm going to start posting on Instagram. 2 months later, you're at like 2K, 3K, Alpha Lions reaching out to you. And it was off of pictures, right? Mostly pictures. You weren't even posting reels. I don't like reels.
So that was crazy to me. Because to really get pictures to pop off and really build your brand, I feel like it's getting harder on Instagram.
It is definitely harder.
As opposed to reels.
Just because so many people are posting nowadays. Like, you look at the following, or you look at the daily usage of Instagram users, and it's
absurd.
It's absurd how many people are on Instagram every single day for hours and hours and hours. And I mean, a couple of years ago, it wasn't like that. Like, even 3-4 years ago, it wasn't like that. I feel like now is really like a social media age where just everybody's on it. From like 10 years old to, 10 years old to like grandmas are on there.
They got
grandmas and grandpas on there. They got YouTube kids. They got all these things. They all these little niches carved out for whoever you are. And so it's really a big way to get your name out there is to have a good social media. And while I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, I just kind of started it for fun. You can kind of quickly begin to see like all the opportunities that you have on there. Like, you have, this isn't a dig at anybody specifically, but you have people who look a lot worse than me with thousands, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 followers. Big influencers, big brand names behind them. And you kind of wonder why. So I was like, if they can do it, why can't I do it? So I kind of pushed for like a few months, I think like 2 or 3, made it to like 4K followers within like a few weeks. And then I just kind of got bored of it, to be honest. You kind of look at it, what other people are doing, and you realize you really have to follow trends and kind of hop on board like a bandwagon to get your name out there. And then once you get your name out there, then you can really...
You don't have to. You feel compelled to.
You feel compelled to. You can do it your own way for sure. It'll take a lot longer.
It will.
I'm impatient. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
If you want to make it big quick, you got to hop on. You got to do what somebody else is doing that's working, and then kind of put your own twist on it once you get really out there.
Right.
But by then you have like a big enough following that like the real followers just stay. You'll still have large numbers. You'll still get a large amount of exposure, but you can kind of take risks.
Right.
It's just harder to take risks when your account is small because if you don't find your niche, if your content isn't being pushed out there because you're already getting some kind of momentum,
right,
it's just harder. It just makes it a lot harder,
significantly harder,
which is one of the reasons I stopped, because I would post my own stuff. I'm big on the just picture part of things. I don't really like reels if it's not informational reels, and those do okay, but it's really just like the funny reels or like the relatable stuff that gets pushed heavily.
Yes.
So if you can make a joke, like, what is it?
People like to laugh.
Yeah, people love to laugh. You ever seen that meme about like Ronnie Coleman dancing on stage?
Oh my god, yeah.
Those ones had me crying, and like those,
yeah,
you put them out and then they get millions of views. They could make your account go like 20K overnight. It's like so yeah, that's a good point. If you don't exactly have the most shredded physique or like the most impressive physique yet, reels do give you like a big way to kind of implement your personality. And obviously if you're putting your personality out there, you're kind of getting to an audience that's a lot more dedicated to what type of content you're putting out there. And because of that, higher interactions, higher this, higher that stuff all gets pushed out to Instagram more, and over time it'll build up. But I mean, if you don't want to use reels, I personally don't really like using reels. Maybe like once in a while. I like the fitness instruction ones a lot. Like those like instructional type videos I like, because it's quick, easy content that can help somebody out who's just wondering for tips.
Right. Like
if they're like, hey, I'm looking for this. If I get a comment, it's like, hey, I'm looking for tips on this. I'll be like, oh, I have a reel from 2 weeks ago for shoulder workouts and how to adjust this and that. Go check it out. It's quick, it's easy, and you can put a lot of information in like 10-20 seconds.
Right.
If that's not your thing and you really want to stick to photos, I would just suggest still finding a way to put your personality in there somehow. There's it's a big scene for like anime kids and lifting nowadays.
Yeah, it's gotten big.
It's gotten big.
I like it.
Yeah, some people like implement that in some way. They'll do like cosplay lifting. Like there's one page, what is it? This dude, this chick has like a cosplay bodybuilding page. It has like 2 million followers or something like that. I saw it the other day and I was like, this is dope.
Yeah.
Like you're cosplaying, you're going to the gym and these things, and you're looking jacked. Good for you. And it's like solely pictures. There's like no reels or anything in there. You could do something like that. You can inspire. You can put something like fashion in there. You know, fashion's a big thing, especially
huge.
If you like taking care of yourself, you're obviously going to want something to take care of how you look and your outfits. Like I haven't seen that yet. Like a bodybuilding fashion page. That might be an interesting idea for somebody who wants to do it. You can do it easily in picture format. Just little things like that. You can, if you're really big on photography and you really want to develop it, get into the photo editing aspect of things. Instagram really benefits, or at least the algorithm really promotes like high quality pictures with good edits and stuff like that. So if you want to push it that way, get a nice camera, really practice, really hone it down, get your edits down, things like that, all promote your content like indirectly. And it's just psychologically too. You look at a picture, it's all nice, it's crisp, you got good composure, like good composition, your edits are really nice. That's going to draw people even if your physique isn't the same. People obviously like to see like high quality content, and now that technology is pretty widely accessible, you kind of got to push it too. That you could take your phone pictures and like get some quality that way, but if you have a really nice camera and stuff like that, people are going to pay attention to just the quality of the photos if you're not that big, like physically large and impressive yet. But I mean, that's just something that you got to take care of in the gym yourself if you're really serious about it. So I encourage you to focus not only on your content, but really like what your content is based off of. Like you focus on yourself, obviously over time, and that's going to be rewarding to you in an actual way, because social media is great and all, but it's not the end all be all.
Of course not.
So
it's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's to get yourself out there, but like then you got to focus on the product yourself.
Exactly.
If you're going to sell something, yeah, you can focus all on the marketing, but if your product isn't that great, then it's not going to be. Like, the skill ceiling's high there. You can if you push yourself out there, then you can do a lot, but you got to improve yourself at that point.
100%.
And I would say the last thing, or at least another way to kind of get it is. Yeah, I would another. Yeah, I'm out of ideas there.
Well, kind of build on that. I feel like the shelf life for a lot of influencers is so short because they don't put enough emphasis on their personality.
Yeah.
Your personality is your brand. That's your foundation. That's what really gets people invested in you. Your physique is great, but you're going to be 35 at some point. You're going to be 40.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody who's 22, 23 who looks better than you. So at that point, if your physique doesn't look as good as theirs, what do you do?
Yeah. And
if you don't have a personality, if you're not able to really transition from just focusing on your physique to your personality, you're kind of fucked in the fitness industry, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just that it's like a short shelf life. It's just how long is this going to be mainstream for? Like, yeah, bodybuilding's been a big thing and people are paying attention now more than ever, really, because of social media.
Yeah.
But how long is it? It's really a trend right now. It's been a thing since like COVID. People got out, they started working on themselves.
I would say 2019 is when it started to rise.
2019-ish, yeah, around there. And that's already 4 years. It lasts another 5-ish, I'd be surprised. But it's just, people weren't really focusing on bodybuilding. Even if it was a big thing, it wasn't as big 10 years ago.
No, definitely not.
We look at like Ronnie Coleman and all those people now, and it's great. But outside of like a very niche area, like nobody knew who they were 10 years ago,
right?
15 years ago, like outside of the bodybuilding world. But now you have the bodybuilding world kind of infiltrating other areas. You don't got to be a bodybuilder. You could be a kid at home on TikTok and be like, yeah, Ronnie Coleman's a G.
Yeah.
You know him.
I mean, look at Chris Bumstead.
Yeah, Chris Bumstead. Like, people who are casually in the gym
are not
know him.
bodybuilding fans.
Yeah, most people who know him are not really bodybuilding fans, but they know him because he's huge, both on social media, real life, and he's accomplished a lot.
Right.
And he's had that just kind of marketed online through social media, through videos, through all these edits on TikTok, this, that, whatever. You see it all. But I mean, eventually people will get bored of it, at least they won't be as interested to the extent they are now, which means lower sales, lower marketing, lower opportunities for a lot of people trying to get into it. And since things are really saturated, that'll make it a lot harder for anybody to get into things.
Right.
What I like is people like, that raw gear influencer, Sarah something.
Yeah, I think I know you're
I was watching one of Bradley's podcasts, and she's like, she's getting back into schooling. She's doing this, she's doing that. She's trying to see different things. I think it's like real estate or something like that. It's a lot of athletes nowadays are realizing that time is limited for what they're doing now, and they're exploring other opportunities. They're using this as a moment to kind of generate some wealth, get things going, kind of build a foundation, and then they're exploring more permanent things. So I definitely wouldn't sink all your chips into this, especially if you're beginning and you're not already up there.
Right.
But I definitely use it as just an opportunity to see what you can accomplish.
Like, I mean, the growth potential is insane right now.
Yeah, the growth potential is insane, but there's also so many people gunning for the same opportunities.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and you don't know how long these opportunities are going to be there for. So would I quit school and go for it like a lot of people are doing? Maybe not. I love the determination and the kind of passion for it.
Yeah.
And, for some people it has worked.
I think, like you said,
for a lot of people it hasn't.
I think, like you said, the time for that has kind of passed, because the people who did that were doing it as it was about to pop off.
Yeah, people
and
were
they
doing it
didn't even
like
really know how big it was going to be.
Yeah, like
now they're fucking thriving.
Sush.
Yeah,
one of the biggest athletes out there right now, or I guess more lifestyle influencers now, because I don't know how intensely he takes working out, but works for Young LA, one of their top guys. Quit school, just moved out to Houston and just started lifting, and he got big off that. But that was what, 2020. I want to say
2020, yeah.
Back when things were still just popping off, when that YouTube aspect of things were going nuts, and like the influencer scene was really taking off. So you don't really see that anymore. Like people quit school and they do that now. They just go broke. They go broke.
Yeah.
Like a 1 in a million might pull it off, but a lot less are able to accomplish it to that extent.
It's definitely, you need to have a ridiculous work ethic.
Yeah.
You need to dedicate your life to it at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's extremely oversaturated, but the good thing about that is you have so many people whose models you can pull from. Like you if you study it hard enough, you'll know exactly what you need to do to actually be successful, and at that point you just need to grind it out. But then at that point, if you don't have a job, it's gonna get hard. Man, it's gonna get hard. Man. Yeah, no, it's rough out here.
It's rough out here. Gas is. I pulled up to the gas station and it hurt. Gas was like $3.90.
Gas is crazy. Rent is crazy.
It's just, if you can do it, do it. But I'd leave a backup option.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially now.
Yeah,
it definitely isn't so set in stone.
No,
as it might have been.
Right. So I made a video last week. about whether or not bodybuilding is a pageant or a sport. Where do you stand on that? The final verdict for me was, despite the fact that bodybuilders train harder than any athlete on the planet, when it comes to show day, ultimately it is a pageant.
Okay, so you're specifically talking about the show day itself.
I think that's what kind of solidifies it for me, in terms of the subjectivity of the scoring.
Interesting. I mean, would you say that, say something like football is only a sport, like on game day, or would you say it's still a sport before that when they're training and doing everything?
Definitely, it's a sport when they're training. 100%.
It's a sport when they're training?
100%.
Okay. All right. So what do you define as, to start off, what do you define as a pageant versus
Let me rephrase. When they're training, they're athletes.
When they're training, they're athletes.
They're athletes who compete in a sport.
Bodybuilders
are also athletes.
Yeah.
Do they compete in a sport?
Okay.
Is really the foundation of where I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
All right. So what do you define as a pageant and then as a sport?
So I looked at the technical definitions of a sport. So physical activity that requires physical exertion and skill that people can perform as a job or a hobby. Right.
Okay.
So that's somewhat broad when we look at it technically, because then you can put chess players as athletes, pageant queens as athletes. You can put drag queens as athletes. You can put a lot of people as athletes, right? So let's get away from the technical definition a little bit and then look at why people would consider, say, MMA as a sport, but bodybuilding not a sport.
I think the main thing that kind of separates bodybuilding from other sports is that every other sport, like every sport except bodybuilding, if you're considering a sport, has an objective scoring system. So if you look at baseball, number of hits, like home runs, the time they hit home, I don't know, I don't watch baseball.
Right.
Horrible analogy. MMA, they have how many times you hit, like they got scores based on how well you hit, everything like that, how much damage you appear to be taking, how well you're still doing,
right?
Just the time that it goes on. Football is obviously touchdowns, field goals, stuff like that, soccer goals. So in every sport you can kind of clearly see what the winning team's doing, what the losing team's doing. You can see what each team deserves or what each player deserves and how they rank based off that.
Right.
It's kind of hard, and I think this is why people view bodybuilding as a pageant, to base somebody based off how they look. Like there's no objective scoring system based off how somebody looks, because to one judge, an overall like a bicep obviously might look better overall to all judges if it's obviously more defined. But when you look at an entire like package that somebody brings in a bodybuilding competition, you can have there's a lot more discrepancies into how things are rated.
Right.
Like if some guy's bicep is bigger than shoulders, or overall chest development here is lacking, but his back is great, vice versa on the other dude. What is the judge looking for, and how much is he willing to move those points around to rate them, to rank them? So the same person could look like a 10 out of 10 bodybuilder to one dude, and then look like an 8 over here just because he's lacking in some area that judge really looks for points in.
Right.
Meanwhile, it could take away no points for another person if he just doesn't really care about that. So like, I mean, maybe somebody will take off a point for a calf being small, and the other guy is just like, whatever, I have small calves too.
Right.
So I guess in that way that it is very pageant-like, just because you do have that subjective rating of somebody's physical appearance. But I think what distinguishes bodybuilding from a pageant is that athletic competition, that extraneous like physical force that you have to put into being even a competitor. Just because if you're in a beauty pageant, it's not really the foundation of a beauty pageant to be physically competitive. Physically fit, yes. I mean, there's pageants that require other things other than just physical fitness and aesthetics.
Right.
But I mean, when people think like a beauty pageant, they think a physically fit man or woman just going up on stage, looking pretty in dresses and bikinis and this and that, whatever. But they never think of the physical aspect like physical competition, more just physical fitness. Bodybuilding is a lot of physical fitness, but there's also another level beyond that kind of pushes them outside of like normal boundaries. They're building their body. They're not just trying to be healthy, trying to be toned. They're doing something that other people wouldn't really do, even if it takes away from fitness technically. So I wouldn't consider bodybuilders fitness. like physically fit all the time.
Okay.
I think you'd agree on that one.
No, 100%. Yeah.
So physical fitness isn't really the goal at that point anymore, like it is in pageantry.
Mm-hmm.
It's something beyond that physical fitness isn't even compatible with at points.
100%.
It's building something that isn't sustainable for aesthetic purposes.
Right.
So in the sense of subjective rankings and a focus on kind of aesthetics, yes, it is a pageantry. But I think it's because of that physical athletic competition component that really is the foundation of bodybuilding, while it isn't there for pageantry, that makes it lean closer to a sport.
Gotcha.
So with sports, you have the training, everything. Yes, they have game days, but game days are few and far between. Training days are like every single day.
Right.
And that really makes up the bulk of it.
Right.
With bodybuilding, it's the same way. You're training almost every single day. Shows come a few times a year. But around it all, it's really that athletic competition, that trying to make yourself larger, working out harder every day, pushing your body to do more every day and look better, that really makes it more toward a sport.
Right.
Because, yeah, that competition comes once or twice a year. And the end result is that of a subjective ranking that nobody can really control, and it varies a lot by person to person. But that's not the main, that's not the foundation of it.
Right.
And the foundation of it is rooted in sports. It's rooted in competition. It's rooted in something that is bodily centric, and it's just not exactly under the definition of a pageantry, to be able to put it that way.
Right.
So because I'd say it's like 90% of sport, 90% of sport, 10% of pageant.
Okay.
Like the icing on the cake puts it a pageant.
Okay.
The cake itself, everything else is a sport.
Gotcha.
So while it looks, you see the icing first, yeah, it's a pageant. If you got people rating this, you got judging this. It's men in tiny shorts up there, people saying, you look good, you look this good, this guy looks better. But underlying all of that is something that is more than just a pageant.
Right. And for me, the distinguishing factor because there's no question that bodybuilders are athletes.
Yeah.
To me, that's not even a question, right? It's the show itself.
Is the show itself a pageant?
Is the show itself a pageant, or is it a sport, right?
Bodybuilding as a whole, I would say, is a sport for sure.
Okay.
The show itself is a pageant.
Gotcha.
I'd agree on that. If you make those two, if you make that distinguishment, I would say that the pageant or the show itself, any bodybuilding show, is a pageant.
Gotcha.
It gets a little dicey when you start like accounting for like if it's like classic, open, things like that. Because I would consider classic a lot more of a sport than something like open, just because you're taking into account the whole posing routines and stuff like that. And they look easy. They look
super easy.
They look super easy if you do them well. But if you really look at like the competitors, they are huffing and puffing. They're sweating.
Yeah.
They are shaking, trembling, because posing like that for minutes at a time,
it's hard.
You can't just do that. You got to build up to that. That's hard. That's a lot of endurance.
Yeah.
That is a sport in its own, I would
100%.
say. Bodybuilding posing is a sport of its own. It's not even bodybuilding. It's like it's an endurance competition at that point. And you got to do it well. You got to make it flow. You got to make it go with music. You got to present it well. So I'd say classic is even more of a sport than the other ones, just because physique and open, you're kind of just being very large and posing.
Now you also have the fitness division. They're doing like whole gymnastic acrobatic routines. It's not very popular, unfortunately.
Honestly, I didn't even know about it. But if that itself is even more of a sport than anything, then
if anything, they're actually more athletes than any other division, in my opinion. Only because they still have to come in shredded on stage. They're still doing regular posing, but for the night show, they're doing backflips and
they're like CrossFit gymnastics. People just going nuts.
I'd
have to check that out because I haven't seen it.
You have to check it out. It's impressive.
Yeah. But I mean, if you break down the divisions like that, then yeah, I'd put the fitness up on top, and then you got classic, and then you got like physique and stuff down there, which are more pageant like, because they do just kind of stand there, hit a quick pose. Yes, they have to perfect that pose, but it's not like an entire routines they're holding things. But so it's really just, hey, how does this pose look? Look good?
Right.
I'll stop it.
Right.
So I'll say for the most part, the shows themselves lean more toward pageant shows.
Right.
They're just pageant shows with huge, giant men and women.
Huge.
But the entire field, or the entire thing of bodybuilding, is more of a sport. Well, because you don't really prepare for a pageant show year round. That's another point. Like you got it. You do it in like 3 weeks.
I personally don't know the amount of effort that it takes. I actually
don't know, but you got to stay some level of fit. But you don't have to go through off season. You don't got to go through prep. You don't got to go through all these things. Maybe you take care of yourself.
Not to the extent of bodybuilding.
You'll take care of yourself. You get your hair done. You look good. You go on your walks or your jogs, or you do your cardio, and you eat well. But not nearly to the extent that I would say considers it a sport.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
But bodybuilding shows, I'll say pageant.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding as a whole, I'd say sport.
Fair point. One thing that I did want to touch on a little bit is anabolics. Yeah.
We all love them.
I haven't dabbled yet personally because I don't know shit about anything. Like I know testosterone, Winstrol, Anavar. I don't know what 90% of those things do. Mm-hmm. But what I've always been interested in, how do people form that baseline knowledge?
I really got interested off of More Plates, More Dates.
Yeah.
Back in like 2021, just like seeing all his videos pop up. He has a lot of other content, but like he has a lot of like anabolic breakdowns, which I think is a good thing because you have a lot of knowledge readily accessible now. But the fact that this knowledge is readily accessible is damaging to impressionable kids. I wouldn't consider myself that impressionable, but I was still very curious because it's something that I'm passionate about, fitness and stuff like that. So if I can push that to an extent that other people aren't able to reach readily, why wouldn't I? Especially if you can do it smartly, mitigate your risks and stuff like that. And if you really want to take it far. So I think before it might have been like the big dude at the gym in the corner with like the hoodie up. You just suck it up and go ask him, hey man, you taking anything? Can you share? You just befriend him. Like that might have been the way like 20 years ago when the internet wasn't really a big thing and you can kind of see who's on it and who isn't. But right now you can just Google search it. Like there's entire subreddits dedicating to breaking things down, helping you plan out like cycles, things like that.
Shout out Reddit
For literally all your informational needs. You can search it up just on Google. Like, what do these things do? How much should I take? It pops up on TikToks nowadays nonstop. Everybody's making like legalized trend jokes. They're all making, I mean, like you got the Trend Twins have it in their name and they're popping off, and just having that name makes people curious about these results and what they can get. Influencers nowadays, they've stopped caring about whether they're natural or not, and
it doesn't matter.
No, but you got people coming out and just saying, "Yeah, I'm on this."
Yeah,
you didn't see that a couple of years ago because
dudes
people
were denying
afraid of brand risk. Yeah,
bro, IFBB pros would straight up deny they were on roids.
IFBB pros were denying gear use.
And it's like, come on.
And it's like, come on. Like, dude, like we get it. Your testing is strong, but like, they let you know a couple months in advance.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that random what they do over there in the IFBB.
Not at all.
So it's less people nowadays denying that they're on anything because people's favorite influencers have been on this stuff for years. Like Connor Murphy, he hopped off and people knew immediately, and they're like, yeah, this dude was not natural.
It right away. Yeah.
Like a lot of these people have been on it for years, have denied it. Like who's still claiming? Michael Trend, man.
I feel like he's trolling at this point.
He's like, he's 50. He's
over 50, 52, 53.
He's pushing his mid 50s if he's not already pushing late 50s.
Yeah.
And dude looks better than 99.999% of men will ever look like in their prime at 55. I
feel like he's just trolling at this point because people make videos about it. That's great exposure for him.
I mean, he never got into bodybuilding. Arnold did. Arnold at 50 was not looking like that.
No, not at all.
Arnold was a lot smaller and he had a lot better genetics.
Arnold was also taking a lot less shit.
Yeah. I mean, Arnold was still on like TRT at that age and he did not look anywhere near it. So, Mike's still denying it.
Mike can deny it all he wants.
So I think a big part of like nowadays is people are just more readily not only admitting that they're on things. Like you have people like James English, which is my current favorite influencer. He just posts his cycles, he doesn't care. Yeah. He's like, people are here to watch fitness. I'm going to make the fitness content. This is part of fitness. It's the dark side of fitness that I don't think people should get into too young or even later in life if they're not actively thinking about the consequences and acknowledging that there is a risk to it. Like you shouldn't just hop on it expecting it to be all sunshine and rainbows. There's side effects and there's long-term consequences to it. But if you can accept those risks and the results are worthwhile to you, I believe people should be able to do what they want. But yeah, it's interesting to see that so many people nowadays are admitting to it, and they're just not afraid of the brand risk because brands are kind of changing the way they see consumers.
Right.
Like, they don't care. Like, people nowadays don't care if you're on gear.
No, not at all.
More people are willing to take gear because people are admitting that they're on it. So brands are like, these people don't care anymore. We'll just take these influencers. We'll take them. We'll do whatever. We'll sell them the same stuff. But now you have everybody taking gear.
Everybody.
You got the dude at your gym who doesn't really look like he works out taking insane amounts of stuff and looking the same.
You wouldn't be able to tell.
You wouldn't be able to tell. No. Yeah. After working out, I thought maybe just the biggest dude at the gym was on gear. But after 3 years, I realized you look around and there are so many people on it who just don't do it properly, don't have the genetics for it, aren't taking substantial amounts, but still do it for some reason. Like, I guess like above TRT, but lower than like actual like worthwhile doses.
Yeah. That was definitely the biggest thing I learned. Gear does not automatically make you look good.
No, gear does not automatically make you look like even decent.
No.
If you're eating horribly, if you're not working out with like proper intensity, like it's not worth it at all if you haven't mastered every other aspect of lifting before you get there.
Exactly.
If you haven't learned how to diet properly, not only are you going to torture your liver, your kidneys, your intestines, your skin's going to look horrible, your heart is going to cry itself to bed every night. like monitoring cholesterol and things like that are something that people don't do unless like they realize that it's a risk. Unless you've actually mastered lifting properly. If you're going in there and you got 4, 5, 6 reps left in the tank after every set and you're leaving and you're not sore, you're not tired, you're not breathing heavy, and you're doing that every day, you're going to gain some muscle because it's steroids, but you're going to look natural, something that you could have done in a more worthwhile and healthy way had you just trained properly and ate properly.
People just don't have the work ethic anymore.
It's a big work ethic thing. Like,
it's not there.
No, it's not there anymore. And I think a big part of that is like the whole like TikTok thing.
You look at social media, you look at these guys that look great.
Comes back down to
they're like, I'm gonna
all the benefits and all the negative aspects come down to
100%.
You just have to look out for and see like where the information you're getting from is coming from,
right? And
whether like those opinions like match with yours or if you're just going with it because it's fun.
I think people see the opportunity to get big.
Yeah,
it's addicting. The attention's addicting. And they don't really weigh out the risks properly in terms of what is the long-term effect of this? Am I going to need to hop on this? Is it going to benefit me at all? Yeah. Because obviously, if you haven't even learned how to diet properly naturally,
it's a lot harder when you're on steroids.
A lot harder.
You have to watch. Not only are you just not watching your macros anymore, you can do that naturally and get far. If you're tracking you don't even got to track fats and calories. If you're tracking your protein and your intake and your overall like calorie intake as a natural, and you're keeping those numbers consistent, you will make so much progress in a few years that people will think you're unnatural. Because most other people, the average person, isn't doing that.
Yep.
They're just eating whatever they want, going to the gym, wondering why they're fat or wondering why they're skinny. But if you're tracking your calories and your protein, you're getting in there and you're doing an above average effort, you will make a lot of progress.
And that goes back to work ethic again. Because like 99% of people in the gym, and I haven't done a study or anything like that, but this is my personal opinion, my mental statistics, the conversations I've had in LA fitness saunas, 99% of people, I feel, don't even diet anywhere near what they can maximally do to actually see results. So what happens is they look at somebody who diets really hard, like that dude's on gear.
Yeah. There's a lot of natural people I know who look like they're on gear, but they've been completely natural. They're transparent when you've been doing it for so long. If you've been in the gym so long, people become transparent about like what they do.
Yeah.
But then there's the opposite, people who are on gear and they don't diet. Their cholesterol's through the roof. Their liver enzymes are terrible because they're not taking any supplements.
Yep.
Their kidneys are dried out.
And then they call you not natty because you look better.
They call you not natty. But it really comes down to it. Everything that you can do unnaturally, you should master naturally first.
Right.
Because it just becomes so much harder. It's not easier. It's not a walk in the park. You have so much more that you have to monitor because now your health is really on the line. And what you eat is important because all this is affecting your heart. All this is affecting your liver. It's all things that are permanently damaged and can't be replaced. If that's okay with you just wanting to get bigger, if that risk is worth the reward, I'd say, then yeah, go for it. But it's not easier. Like it's a lot harder to be unnatural.
Yeah.
Because you just worried about things that you never even had to like think about.
You got to spend more money too.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it the right way and
horrible amount of
not die,
you got to
spend the money.
You got to get blood tests. You got to monitor your blood tests. You got to truly think about how you're feeling. Like you need things that counteract hormones.
Yeah.
Things that counteract those counteracting hormones. Like you need blockers. You need this. You need that.
This is shit people don't think about.
It's not just you inject testosterone. Like you have to take things daily, weekly. You have to just, if you're missing dosages, you're screwing yourself up.
Yeah, 100%.
Not only not getting the benefits, you're screwing yourself up because your test gets shut down, and then you got to worry about therapy afterwards. And that therapy doesn't work for a lot of people. So you got to be okay with the risk that you might not have kids.
Right.
Your sex drive might be gone. You'll have acne. You'll be bald.
Right.
This, that, whatever. If you're okay with those risks, then yeah, go for it. But they are risks, and a lot of kids don't see that because they see the big. They see the big, like the Sam Sulek dudes. People are
blinded by that. Yeah. Yeah.
They
want to be the next Sam Sulek.
They want to be the next Sam Sulek. They want to be the next whoever.
Shizzy. We'll get to him.
The next Shizzy. You know, I don't know his story for sure, but that man is.
Greg posted a new video. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Is it like blood test results?
Blood test results came back a little sketchy.
Yeah, it's sketchy. Exactly.
Very.
So
okay.
I'll watch that tonight.
If his results came back sketchy, I'll watch that video. You can talk about that one in your next podcast, but. Yeah. Like people see dudes like that and they're just blinded by the rewards. Yeah. And that's something that happens a lot these days because of social media. You don't see the negative aspects. You don't see the hard work that people put in.
No,
you just get rewards. You just get rewards. You just get rewards. And that's why there's a lot of studies out there about like social media and unhealthy amounts of like dopamine release because you only see the positive unless you're watching the news and you only get the negative and you got
exactly.
But you're only getting the end result. You're not getting any of the background information.
Right. They do say that probably like 5 to 10 years time, there's going to be some kind of social media related mental illness in the DSM-5.
No, they're definitely. I mean, I'd be surprised if social media isn't already related in like anxiety and depression in some way in the DSM. Like maybe not its own thing, but like it's definitely contributed it to a lot more. You got more people now than ever anxious on medications for it, in therapy, things like that. Just because, I mean, they promote emotions that aren't always beneficial. Mm-hmm. Like you look at people in their lives and you're only getting this little tiny snippet of like some golden moment. But you don't see the rest of the week where they're doing nothing in bed like you were. You don't see all these things. And it makes you feel bad about yourself in a way. Like if I looked on Instagram all day and I saw people were shredded all the time and I didn't acknowledge that these people have worked their ass off and they've been bulked like I am in my position. Mm-hmm. They've been shoving food down their mouth at 2 a.m. trying to get this or that or cardio for 2 hours a day. If I didn't acknowledge all those other steps, I would feel terrible about myself. I didn't wake up shredded every day.
See, they don't post that.
They don't post that. A lot of them don't post that. Some of them do. I really like those like fitness transformation pages where like they take a video a day or this or that. But outside of that, like you really just get the end result and that or this golden moment that exists for a split second in this one frame and none of the rest. And that's damaging to a lot of people.
And a lot of people start their fitness journeys and they're like, all right, it's going to be a piece of cake.
It's going to be a piece of cake. And then they see it isn't. And then
they don't see the results in 2 weeks and they're like, oh shit.
And then they'll do like steroids, they'll hop on gear, do this or that. That's not a piece of cake either. And then they look terrible and now they're wondering why their health sucks.
Here comes the depression, anxiety. People don't talk about that enough. And especially in the fitness industry, everybody's got body dysmorphia.
Everybody's got body dysmorphia.
To a certain extent.
If I had $1 for every time I walk by a mirror and I'm like, damn. Like, I'm not looking how I want to look right now.
I definitely say I have some too.
Not so much anymore, thankfully. Like, you get enough progress and it starts to become like bearable. But like, especially in the beginning when you're just working out and it's just hard, man. Like you don't look how you want to look. And that's you. And like you really, it's mostly in your control, how we spoke about earlier. But it's just hard. You know you got to do, but it's hard to do.
It is. It takes, but you also have to have an understanding going into it that it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So one thing I would say that I've learned, like just overall in life, is that anything worth attaining is not going to be easy.
It is.
It's going to be really hard. It's going to require endless amount of effort with no reward immediately, no immediate gratification.
I think
it takes a lot of faith.
Yeah, I think that gratification part is a good point because, I mean, nowadays a lot of things are instant gratification. If you buy something online, it's at your door in a week. If it's on social media, you're getting dopamine off these posts. You see something you like, whether it's a puppy, whether it's a half naked girl, whether it's a bodybuilder, all these things are making you feel good because they're things that you enjoy. You can see them, you scroll up to the next one, you have dopamine hits every couple seconds. All that stuff really degenerates your ability to kind of put off getting it. It's an addiction. It's a social media addiction. Whether it's a food addiction, whether all these things, all this is just instant gratification. Like, if I wanted to, I could go get a burger up the street right now, or I could stick to my diet. That's the difference between delayed gratification and instant gratification.
Right.
And I think nowadays, a lot of people have a hard time delaying gratification.
Very hard time.
It's a very hard time because so many people are addicted to so many different things. Like, I won't say I have the best with it. Like, vaping for me, it's an instant. I have a bad nicotine addiction.
Yeah,
that is a quick dopamine hit. It hits me, and I'm happy. I'm a little bit less stressed, but in the long run, I'm a lot more less stressed. But I mean, at least in bodybuilding or in fitness, I feel I can have that delayed gratification. I know how to eat. I know how to do things in life. I can study. I can go to school. I'm willing to put in the effort to get where I want to be. Yeah, when friendships, like, it's all about delaying gratification if you really want something worthwhile, because delaying it kind of builds a strong foundation, and anything rushed doesn't have a strong foundation. It can crumble just as easily as it starts.
100%.
So if it takes a while to build, it'll take a lot longer to fall down.
To break, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I look at a lot of people who blow up in one night, and I'm like, I hope you have a better plan for longevity.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of content creators, they blow up over one night. They're like, oh shit, I'm going to just keep doing the same exact thing.
Do the same exact video, and it might help for a week or two.
What happens is 3 months later, nobody cares about that anymore.
You can always tell those accounts too, because you'll look at their, I forget what people call it, their interactions.
Yes.
Like, they know their comments, likes, and stuff like that. And you'll see really, really, really big influencers with like 100K, and they're like breaking like 5K follows or 5K likes, maybe a couple hundred comments.
Right.
When in reality, it should be about like 10% comment.
Ratio, yeah.
10% of that like or whatever. There's a certain ratio for it that like you can see like actual like solid pages for, and then they just have a lot lower numbers than that. So either they're buying followers or they blew up so quickly that now nobody really follows or relates to it.
Right. Buying followers is a really good point. Yeah. That also goes into the instant gratification part as well. That to me is just so lame. Like, there are so many better uses for your money. Like, okay, great, you bought followers, the number says 5,000, that's awesome. Yeah. When you're getting 10 likes a photo,
getting 10 likes I wouldn't even say 10, but if you have like
that's sad.
10,000 followers and like maybe 100 likes max, and it's like, what's going on here?
What's going on? A little fishy.
Yeah. And you see that they'll have like brands and like followings and like sponsorships too, but it's just, why are you doing it if nobody's actually paying attention?
Right.
It's a number to people who aren't watching.
Exactly. And there was one girl in like the beauty community. She's like the only person who was able to successfully really finesse that. Allegedly, she bought a bunch of followers, and she created a bunch of fan accounts, and she would like create the engagement from those fake fan accounts to make it look to brands that she actually had a dedicated fan base, and she was able to actually get sponsorships off that. I don't know if she's still going strong today, but I saw a whole documentary about it that was very compelling.
There's also a big thing that I didn't really like about social media is all your favorite influencers have each other in group chats, man.
They have each other in group chats?
They have each other in group chats. Like,
really?
Yeah. We all, like, they all speak. They all, you can kind of tell, like, they all let little things.
They collab.
Slip. Like, they collab. They do that. But like, they all like tell each other like information. Like, I've seen people admit to buying follows. I've seen people admit to being on gear when they claim natural. Like, it's a lot of behind the scene things that you wouldn't really expect or would hope that it wasn't going on. But it's there. It's there, man. Like, all these guys are just trying to get it however they can.
Right.
Like, a lot of them are really genuine people, but there's always like the one that sticks out, and it's just, it doesn't feel quite right.
Right.
Yeah, but there's always one at least.
I mean, the latest guy who's really exploded is we talked about him last week, Shizzy. I've seen that dude around the gym, like walk around.
Yeah, I didn't see him. It made me want to cancel my membership. Dude is huge.
I didn't realize, like,
saw him when he had long hair. That's why I didn't recognize him.
Really?
When, like, he started really blowing up.
You saw him.
Yeah.
So a few months ago, he only had like 15K.
It was like in February when I was like visiting you down there and we were going like every Friday. I recognized the mom tattoo on his arm and everything. I was like, dude's huge. Bro.
I mean, 6'4",
240,
250-ish,
250-ish,
lean, jacked. And I've seen him around the gym and really imposing dude.
He looks exactly as large as, if not larger than his photos.
Oh, 1000%.
Like he does not look small. Like it's not angles. It's not lighting. That dude is just pure muscle.
You see that guy and you're like, okay, he's an influencer. No question about it. But apparently he actually has been claiming that he's natural. Like he's been saying it in videos. I'm natty.
No, there's videos of him out there. He's like, this is all me. I'm natural. Like, I don't know how much I believe it or if I do believe it, just because it's just humongous to fill out that frame. I know he's older, so I'll give him the benefit of that. And I think he's like 26-ish.
I think he's 27.
He's in the 27 range.
Yeah.
So he's definitely older. He's got that a lot of years under his belt. But if you look at like other dudes under that category, it's hard to really find examples of people who are as developed as him. Like I'm sure you got like the dudes like Ronnie Coleman who were also that height and had a lot of mass beforehand.
Ronnie was 5'11".
Who's in the 6 foot range then? Chris Bumstead's in the 6 foot something range.
He's also 5'11".
Is he?
Yeah.
So nobody's in the 6 foot range then? I don't know.
There are
it's all 5'11" claiming 6 foot.
Bro, the prime height for bodybuilder
is like
in the open is like 5'5" to like 5'11" really at your tallest. If you're pushing 6'1", 6'2", now you got to fill out your legs.
Yeah.
Which is fucking hard.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's so hard to find examples of people like even those two who I thought were up there. Aren't even nearly his height.
And he's 6'4".
Yeah. So it's like, how realistic is it that this is a possibility? Of course, it's a possibility because somebody out there has to have the genetics for it. But how realistic is it that that you're the one?
Yeah,
somebody's got to do it, but is it realistic? Is it realistic to find that example?
So I'll say this: I watched a YouTube video that actually showed a picture of his dad.
His dad's jacked.
His dad's jacked.
His dad's huge.
His dad's.
So I'll also add that dude in his count. Yeah.
So it's possible. I'll give it like 70-30.
I'll
not natty.
I'll give it 60-40.
Okay.
I'll make a higher case because I don't want him showing up in my front door or at the gym in between sets.
I mean, but I wouldn't want him pulling up on me at the gym.
If I'm benching and he just pushes the bar down on me, I'm not
gonna lie. I mean, he got stabbed like multiple times.
Dude's still won a knife fight. Went train chest after like.
Some people are just built different.
If he's built different, then so be it. But
I mean, good for him though.
Good for him. I wish I had them genetics.
I'll take the height.
I'll take either one.
That's why I had to get jacked though.
Yeah,
I couldn't be 5'5", 200 pounds sedentary. It was in a good look.
Yeah, no, I just
at least if I'm like stocky, it's something.
Yeah, I wouldn't pull up on you. You're scary. You're scary for a 5'5", man.
I used to want to be a state trooper.
A state trooper.
Then I was like, I'm too short for that. I'd have to like be really wide.
Really wide.
Yeah, at least like. If I'm not tall, I can like fill out the window of the car.
Yeah.
The shoulders can actually, Because those boots, I'm not wearing those boots.
Not the boots. No.
I mean, I'll look funny in the boots with my height.
They come up to like mid shin.
Coming out the Explorer, it'll look kind of funny. You know what I mean? So
at least if you're jacked, you'll at least scare somebody.
Exactly.
You can just stay in the car. They'll see the chest up.
They'll see the chest up.
They don't see the legs or anything.
That's all they have to see.
You can still go that route. I don't know.
But Sam Sulek, his diet is atrocious.
That man's diet is,
but he looks fantastic.
He looks great. I will say that like the acne and like breathing is concerning.
It's a little scary for 21.
It's scary for 21 because he'll be sitting in his car just like really breathing heavy, and it's like scary. I love his videos and everything. He works insanely hard. Like he works, he's working a failure. The faces he's making, you can just tell he's putting everything he has into his reps.
Right.
He's a funny guy. I love his content. It's relatable because he's just talking to you like you're right there in the room with him. I could put on his video and it's just like I'm in the gym with one of my friends just talking, hanging out. Like it just feels like it's personal. Just maybe it's the iPhone camera quality, but it just feels like you're there. It feels like nostalgic in a way of when like you started lifting and somebody larger was helping you out.
Right.
But his diet just scares me, man.
Yeah.
Like obviously he's on something. I don't think he's ever admitted to what he's on. Like, it's because I mean I wouldn't tell people what I'm on either. It's just somebody's going to try to replicate it and it's not going to end well.
Exactly.
So while I say admit if you're on steroids, definitely don't give people an easier time to do that.
And don't give people generalized information.
Yeah, no generalized
'Cause if you're
information
fucking-
and no cycles is what I say.
Yeah.
Or no exact cycle numbers is what I say.
And just to wrap it up, because we've been having a great discussion.
Yep.
I kind of want to talk a little bit about this year. What is one thing that you personally would say you've learned this year?
What's
something
one thing
that's really
I've
come to
learned?
light.
Anything I've learned, like in specific from any events or just from the year as a whole?
I would say your biggest takeaway, your biggest life takeaway from this year.
My biggest life takeaway from, I would say, my biggest life takeaway this year. I mean, it's been a long year at this point.
Yeah,
This year feels like 3 in 1.
Yeah.
This last 3 weeks feels like a year itself. I would say it's definitely learning to take accountability for yourself, but but to a fault. Like you got to take accountability of every flaw that you have, of every good thing that you have. Like you got to take it all. Learn to accept yourself for who you are, how your actions affect other people, how your actions affect yourself, how your thoughts affect things. Just being accountable for everything that you do and everything that you are. Because there's no point running from anything. It's all going to catch up to you. It's all going to build up over time if you don't make any changes. So if you can be accountable for yourself, I would say that you really learn to see who you are, what you want to change, and who you want to be. I think those are 3 very important things that everybody, especially people like you and I, like young men in their 20s or anybody in their 20s, it's a hard time to navigate. Lots of weird things happen. You know, you got, it's just so much going on at the same time. So many people are in different places. It's hard to distinguish yourself and your own value and where you fit in the world. So if you can answer those questions, who you truly are, what do you really want to change, and who you want to be, then you don't know, you're already admitting to yourself that something needs to be changed, which is the most important step. You know, maybe very little needs to be changed. Maybe you're already ahead of the game. Maybe you're lacking a little behind, or you've kind of given up here and there. I mean, some people are just bad people. Sometimes you got to admit to yourself that you're a bad person. That I wasn't always great. You know, I had to admit a lot of things that I were doing were wrong. And that's a good first step to make, because from then on, you can just focus on what you can do better.
Right.
Now, you don't necessarily have to know who you want to be in life, but you can admit what you don't want to be in life. And that's a very good first step to make. You can, if you work away from that, you'll work closer to something that's kind of the opposite. And maybe that's what you want to be. Maybe you want to be a good middle ground, but working away from what you want to be in life, whether it's lazy, whether it's, I don't know, maybe people are self-conscious about themselves and want to work away from that. Maybe people are addicted to drugs and don't want to be addicted anymore. Like just admitting that you have a fault, finding a way to work away from that fault, even if you don't exactly know the direction you want to go in, is, I think, what the 20s should be about. Because people can, it's hard to be successful. It's hard to have all this time and focus on yourself in your 20s, maybe more in your 30s. But I mean, by that point, you should have a little bit like of a foundation. 20 should just be about finding out what you are, what you don't want to be, and how you can be somebody that you want to be.
Right. And I think it
takes a lot of exploration, a lot of introspection. It's a painful thing to do. It's painful to grow in bodybuilding and mentally and everything. It's uncomfortable to grow because your body wants to say the same. Your mind wants to say the same. Being comfortable is what the body wants to do.
Right.
So growth in any way is going to be painful. So you might as well start early, unless you don't want to change, unless you're comfortable being yourself, which a lot of people are. But that means you're going to be the same forever. You're going to be in the same position forever. You're going to wait for things to fall in your lap. Nothing's ever going to change around you if you don't change yourself. You know what I mean?
100%.
So yeah, be accountable for everything, for the good, for the bad, for the ugly, for the great. Like, just take it all in and learn to love yourself, but still admit that some things might need to change.
Right. Because we're not all perfect.
Not at all.
Right. But working towards perfection.
Working just toward being better. I don't think anybody's ever perfect.
It's unattainable.
It's unattainable. It's unrealistic, and thinking of things that need to be perfect is a fault in itself. Thinking that things can always be improved, I think, is a better way to think about it.
I like that.
That everything can always be improved. It might not need to be improved. You might be happy with who you are. Yeah, you can be content with where you are, but things can always be improved in some way.
Right.
You can always interact with somebody in a little bit of a better way. You can interact with yourself in a little bit of a better way. You can think of things in a little bit of a better way. And thinking, it's really how you think about things that change how you act. Like it's how you think about things really cascades into everything else. Like how I changed, my thinking definitely changed after the surgery, after everything. And I feel like I look at the world in a little bit of a better place. I look at it as something, as more of opportunities, as more friendships to make. I was really isolated at a point, and now I'm working away from that, and I'm reaching out to family that I never had connections with. I'm doing hobbies that I never really thought I would do again, like playing guitar, reading. I hadn't read a book in like 4 years, man. So just doing things that I think not only that I would enjoy, but that I should maybe try to enjoy. Like things that push me outside of my boundaries and maybe I wasn't always comfortable with, but just seeing if I would enjoy them now. So it's really all just focusing on little things, focusing how you think about these little things, and just seeing if they resonate with you in any way, and not being afraid to go with them if they do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think that's a very great takeaway.
Yeah, so it's a big year, big emotions, and
big
hopefully
year,
a lot more to come.
Hey, the year's not over yet.
The year's not over yet.
So I might check in with you December. See if you've learned any.
See if I've learned anything else.
Yeah. December 31st, I'll ask you again.
Okay.
What takeaway have you had from this year?
I'll hold you to that.
But Andrew, this has been a great discussion.
Thank
you for coming on the podcast.
I'm happy to be the first one on here.
Episode 1.2.
It's more like 1.22 with the technical difficulties.
We're still working out some kinks with the technical stuff, but we're trying. At the end of the day, you got to make mistakes to get better, and hopefully, we learn from those mistakes, we get better, and we can have a smoother episode next time.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I will see you at the gym tomorrow.
It'll be leg day tomorrow on Monday.
Leg day tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Living Large Podcast, episode 1. Thank you so much for watching. We are out.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, that last piece should be good. And then we definitely have enough cuts and stuff in the middle for sure.